Welcome back, Spookerinos. Today we're looking at Mind's Eye, episode 16 of season 5. Debuting April 19th, 1998, Mind's Eye has Mulder and Scully investigating a series of killings, and a blind woman that can apparently see through the eyes of the killer. So she's kinda like Daredevil, but spookier. The episode begins with our blind woman coming home from a day of grocery shopping, because despite popular belief, blind people need to eat too. Although, do they need TVs and lamps? What, you don't have visions of drug deals gone wrong? The police arrive on the scene after receiving an anonymous call, but look at all that blood.
Two-time loser looking at life.
I have the same pair of pants.
Yes, it's nice you have the same pants, Mulder, but do you see nothing wrong with who you're talking to? That's Claude Peterson, aka the security guard for the Urisco building, aka the guy who turned on you so he could steal a rogue AI program for the Department of Defense. I'm not sure you should be putting any trust into this guy, especially since he's apparently changed his name to Detective Pennock. Normally this would be an open and shut case. They found the supposed killer at the scene trying to clean up their crime. The only issue in this instance, however, is the supposed killer is blind. She also has a rap sheet that goes from here to New Jersey. But so what if she committed a little fraud? Hasn't she had it hard enough already? Our alleged killer Marty apparently called a taxi, had the driver guide her to the right room, told him to get lost, and then bled out a drug dealer who I'm assuming is much larger and stronger than her. Oh, and he can see, which sorta gives him an advantage. Detective Pennock came to Mulder and Scully because he has a theory as to how she did all of this.
I think she's got some kind of sixth sense, lets her see in the dark. Like a bat or something.
Scully, don't you start, I swear to God. You literally just watched faceless aliens set people on fire. Don't even think about questioning a blind woman who might have echolocation. Detective Pennock brings the agents to meet Marty, and she is feisty. I don't know why she's so combative, but it's almost like she wants people to believe she committed the murders, because she doesn't want to appear weak due to her blindness. Either that, or she's terrified and doesn't want to admit what's really going on.
If you didn't kill him, why you were at the crime scene cleaning up and doing such a piss-poor job of it?
If anyone knows about keeping a place tidy, it's definitely Mulder. He then proceeds to basically make fun of her and point out that she couldn't possibly be the murderer because she can't see. What he was really doing was trying to piss her off so much that he could see how well she's adapted to her blindness.
I don't know, I think she just wants us to think that she's strong, independent. It's important to her.
Yeah, when I want people to think I'm strong and independent, I also clean up murder scenes and become the #1 suspect. Scully and Pennock are convinced Marty is the killer, but they need more evidence, so they decide to check out the motel room one last time for the murder weapon. In the meantime, Mulder has Marty hooked up to a lie detector, because we all know how well those work.
Would you ever have occasion to see Paco Ordonez or know him in any other way? Strike that.
Is Mulder ever part of a lie detector test that doesn't take a weird turn?
And you just answer truthfully. Do you understand?
Yes.
Mulder asks Marty if she saw the murder, and the lie detector goes off the charts. In the meantime, Scully and Pennock arrive at the motel.
She didn't see anything.
Not with her eyes.
Well, how else did she see? Bat vision?
It's echolocation, Scully. Come on, you're supposed to be a scientist. Before Scully and Pennock went to the motel, Pennock swore up and down that they searched every inch. Yet when Scully comes in, she immediately finds a bloody glove. Oh gee whiz, I didn't think about checking in that obvious hole in the wall. Marty has another one of her little visions, and pretending to call a lawyer, she instead calls a bar, so she can have a little chat with the killer.
You just leave her alone. I'm watching you.
If I were the killer, I'd be shitting bricks right about now. Scully brings in the gloves she found, which belonged to the killer, though I'm not sure what Marty's supposed to do with them. It's pretty clear that Marty did not commit the crime, and the only real crime here is looking this good. Detective Pennock tells Marty to put the gloves on because they're already covered in her fingerprints, but they're also covered in someone else's blood. And are we forgetting how the whole glove thing went with OJ? I don't know how they can do any of this without a lawyer. I know she doesn't want one, but still.
Even if the gloves do fit, you can still acquit.
See, at least Mulder knows what I'm talking about. Mulder points out that Marty has never applied for any sort of disability because she sees it as a form of weakness. But Scully throws something out there that probably should have been suggested from the get-go. What if she can see? I know it's a crazy thought, but she seems to do a lot of things easily that I think most blind people would at least have some difficulty in doing. I know the human body can adapt to its other senses, but I think she might go a little beyond that. You know, our killer isn't so much of a killer as he is a drug dealer who just really sucks at his job.
It's a miracle.
While I'm glad Mulder finds this amusing, Marty has herself a little eye exam, and while the doctor tells the agents he's not getting any response, her pupils suddenly contract when she sees through the eyes of the killer. This doesn't exactly help the DA's case, who's trying to put this woman away.
Well, there is evidence of some kind of neurological activity which caused her pupils to dilate.
Mulder, her eyes contracted. Anyways, Marty gets set free by the DA because they literally have nothing on her. Yeah, they've got some fingerprints, but so what? Scully tells Mulder that 2 sets of blood types were found on the gloves, one matching the murder victim and the other someone else. So she's gonna run a test and see if there's a match with Marty. I feel like this is something that maybe should have been done earlier.
Who called me last night?
Marty has another one of her little visions and sees the killer taking his frustrations out at the woman he met at the bar because he somehow thinks she knows who's watching him. I wonder if Marty indirectly caused this woman's murder. Yeah, she interrupted the guy when they were at the bar, but it doesn't necessarily mean he was going to kill her that night. Anyhow, Marty walks into traffic, so a random passerby will help guide her to where the murdered woman is. You know, Marty's not really helping her case by placing her hands all over the dead body. Doesn't matter anyways because she just ends up turning herself in. I don't know why she keeps taking the fall for other people's murders, and I think Mulder's confused too.
You're crazy.
I think you tried to stop them. You tried to, but you didn't get there in time.
I think Mulder's onto something here, but I still don't know why she would willingly take the fall.
You can't back out.
Say, look here, brother, I do what I got to do to stay on the down low and you shining too much light on me.
Why does the drug dealer on the phone sound like he's in a 70s blaxploitation movie? Our drug dealer slash murderer friend is in quite the bind. Turns out Marty's been calling his, let's say, associates and telling them he's bad news. Because of this, he's unable to unload his stuff. I don't think Marty should worry though, it's not like this guy has a temper. Detective Pennock seems awfully pleased he was able to get a blind woman to sign a confession. She even gave them a motive, claiming it was all because of drugs. What she really does is screw over our drug dealer friend who just lost his entire supply. But what must be going through his head right now? He gets a random call from someone claiming he's being watched. Then his drug dealer friends are getting calls telling them not to do business with him because he's bad news. And now the police are stealing his drugs? If I were him, I'd be pretty pissed.
You are one skeptical guy, Agent Mulder.
Skeptical?
Oh, yeah.
I've been called a lot of things. Skeptical, however, is not one.
Skeptical.
Just then Scully calls to inform Mulder that the results came back, and surprise, surprise, neither blood sample matched Marty. She was innocent this whole time and Mulder knew it. Mulder's got a plan to convince Marty to plead her innocence, but in the meantime, this guy is fuming. I don't know how much a briefcase of cocaine is worth, but I'm assuming a lot. Since the police know which locker it was in, couldn't they check camera footage to see who stored it? I think it would become pretty clear that Marty isn't the one responsible, but Pennock does have a massive hard-on for putting her away for some reason.
I know who you're protecting, Marty. And I think I know why. You're protecting the man who murdered your mother.
Mulder speaks with Marty, and he has quite the depressing story to tell her. Her mother was murdered by a man in the exact same fashion as all the previous murder victims, but while her mother was bleeding to death, she was also pregnant with Marty. Mulder believes the blood loss her mother experienced affected Marty's vision, and because of this, she gained the power to see through her mother's killer's eyes, and now for some reason, she feels responsible for the things he does. It doesn't matter how depressing the story is or how correct Mulder is, she still gets hauled off regardless. The killer watches as she's carried off, but does she know she's looking at herself? I'm going to assume Marty's never seen what she looks like, so I'm surprised she doesn't think it's just another random victim. Her stint in prison doesn't last very long because all the evidence they have proves she didn't do a thing, although her reaction is not one of someone who is being set free.
The locker you sent us to? It had prints on it, but they weren't yours.
That locker is in a public place. I'm sure it's been touched by thousands of people, whether they used it or not. So it doesn't exactly surprise me that they couldn't find her prints on it. They do, however, find the prints of our druggy killer friend, Charlie Gotts. It was his fingerprints on the locker, his blood on the gloves, and one more thing.
He's your father.
You gots to be kidding me. Well, that explains how she's connected to this guy. Imagine finding out your mother's killer is also your father, and you've been taking the blame for his crimes this entire time. It's no wonder Marty's had such a hard life. Pennock decides to drop the charges so long as she helps them catch Gotts once and for all. You know what sucks though? This poor woman has had to live with her father's crimes ever since she was a child. Imagine the things she saw before she was even old enough to understand them.
She wants to stop us.
All of a sudden? I mean, if she's so anxious to stop him, why didn't she tell us his name before now?
She didn't know his name. They've never met. He's been in prison her entire life.
Man, Scully is so quick with the victim blaming. The agents thought they had this whole setup for the killer, but the killer has other plans. He's been tailing the cops for an entire day and now knows where Marty lives. It's okay though, I think Detective Pennock can handle it. Imagine having to explain to the guys how a blind woman just kicked your ass. Marty takes his gun because I think she wants to handle this one on her own.
It's not him she's been protecting. If he goes back to prison, so does she. Until now, she's never had a choice.
This is the real reason why Marty's been covering for her father. He only recently got out of prison, so all those visions she had over the years were seen through the bars of a cell. Once he broke free though, she was finally able to see the real world, and I don't think she wants to go back. Jeez man, Marty must have got him good because how long is he gonna be out for?
I hate the way you see me.
The agents arrive on the scene and what the f***? Why is Marty being arrested? Okay, so maybe she did assault the detective, but is what she did not considered self-defense? They knew this guy was coming for her and he did break into her place. Well, walked in since the front door was open, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, you're lucky he wasn't a fan of the ice capades.
Does she even know what the ice capades are? And what does Mulder have against the ice capades?
You ever thought seriously about dying?
Yeah, once when I was at the ice capades.
Mind's Eye is a solid little monster of the week story, but that ending bugs the hell out of me. It's played off sort of bittersweet because Marty no longer has to see through her father's eyes, but at the same time she's thrown in prison for defending herself from her mother's killer? You could say that she's in there because she attacked Detective Pennock, but when the agents walk in the room, Pennock tells them that she did it, referring to the dead man on the ground. I don't know, I feel like she kinda got screwed over on this one. Besides that though, I like this one a good amount. It's nothing amazing, but I think Lily Taylor, who some people might know from the first Conjuring movie, does a good job as a woman who's not only had a very hard life, but also has to see through the eyes of a man who killed her mother. She did so well in the episode that she was actually nominated for an Emmy. I would also like to know what Scully's issue was. She, like Pennock, really had it out for Marty, despite the idea of a blind woman going around murdering people really being implausible. Scully acted very similarly in the season 3 episode Oubliette, which also has a similar story to this one. Remember, Oubliette also had a woman who had a hard life and was not necessarily having visions, but she was sharing the pain of the young girls who were being tortured by the same man that tortured her when she was younger. So there was a connection there, sort of like how Marty has a connection here. Both episodes also ended in kind of a downer, though I'd say Oubliette's ending was much more depressing. Mind's Eye was written by Tim Minear. If that name rings a bell, well it might be because he also wrote the season 5 episode Kitsunagari, which I covered in a previous video. That was the surprise sequel to Pusher, and while opinions are mixed on whether or not it lived up to the original, Minear clearly had a knack for psychological storytelling. In fact, Mind's Eye ended up being one of the last things he did for the X-Files. After season 5, Minear left the show to go work on Angel, where he would really hit his stride writing dark, character-driven stories with a supernatural edge. So if you like the moral gray areas and emotional weight in this episode, a lot of that carries over into his work on Angel too. Mind's Eye explores the idea of remote viewing, a fringe concept that suggests some people can perceive events happening far away, often by mentally projecting themselves or seeing through someone else's eyes. Back in the 1970s, the CIA actually poured around $20 million studying the phenomenon, hoping that it might prove useful for things like locating enemy installations during the Cold War. Tim Minear, who was a story editor on the X-Files at the time, had a personal fascination with the topic. He'd heard stories about alleged remote viewers claiming they could travel to places like Mars, which really sparked his interest. But when he started thinking about turning that into an episode, he realized it might work better as a personal, character-driven story rather than a broad sci-fi concept. That's when the idea struck. What if the remote viewer was blind? Mynheer found that twist compelling, and he also liked the idea of portraying a blind character who wasn't the typical virtuous, saintly figure often seen in media. In his words, he wanted Marty to be tough, even abrasive, because as he put it, disability doesn't automatically make someone noble. If anything, it might just make someone angry. After bouncing the idea around with fellow writers Frank Spotnitz, John Sheban, and Vince Gilligan, and with another script falling through after the holidays, Mynheer got the green light for his first solo writing credit on the show. And he already had someone in mind to play Marty too. When asked who would be perfect for the role, he immediately suggested Lili Taylor. Lili Taylor, known for her standout roles in Mystic Pizza, Dogfight, and I Shot Andy Warhol, had built a strong reputation in the world of independent film. Because of that, the team behind the X-Files assumed she wouldn't be interested in doing a guest spot on a network TV show. What they didn't realize was that Taylor was already a fan of the series, and coincidentally had gone to drama school with Gillian Anderson. She'd even reached out to casting director Rick Milliken before the script for Mind's Eye was completed. Milliken said, 2 or 3 weeks before the script came out, her managers called me and said she would love to do an episode. When Mind's Eye was finished, we all looked at it and said, perfect. Once the casting was set and the script locked in, production ran fairly smoothly. There was, however, a small disagreement when it came time to design Marty's apartment. Art director Greg Lowen noted that realistically, a blind person wouldn't have lamps or overhead lights in their home, but the lighting crew pushed back. The X-Files was already known for its moody visuals, often only relying on natural light, and they didn't want things to get so dim that the audience couldn't see what was happening. In the end, Lowen agreed and said, "To tell you the truth, I could see their point." If you notice that Mulder and Scully spend a lot of this episode working separately, there's a behind-the-scenes reason for that. At one point, Scully says she needs to head back to Washington to personally expedite the PCR results. But in reality, that line was written to explain Scully's brief absence. She had to fly to Los Angeles for some last-minute reshoots for Fight the Future, the upcoming X-Files feature film. The schedule for both projects was very tight, so this episode had to be structured in a way to give Anderson enough time to do both. There's also a small blink and you'll miss it goof near the end of the episode. In the final jail scene, Mulder and Marty can't seem to make up their minds about whether they're holding hands or not. Thanks to a little continuity slip during editing, their hands shift positions between shots, so depending on the angle, they're either together or not touching at all. Oops. Mind's Eye currently sits at 7.7 on IMDb. I think this is a solid little episode. It's nothing amazing, but nothing really bad either. It sort of sits in that Goldilocks zone of being just right, well, as far as comfort viewing goes. Up next, we have a rather interesting one, as young girls start dying and Scully is thrust into a divine battle between good and evil in the episode All Souls. So what do you think of Mind's Eye? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I hope you're having a great week. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and stay spooky!
Sunday on an all-new episode.
Did you kill him?
A blind woman who can see
She's got some kind of sixth sense.
through the eyes of a killer.
Leave her alone. I'm watching you.
I know who you're protecting, Marty. They're gonna kill again. You can help stop that.
The X-Files, Sunday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.